All right, let's journey back in time. I mean way back, almost 4,700 years ago, to a world that you probably wouldn't even recognize. A world before the Great Pyramids, before that iconic skyline of Giza even existed. This is the story of the one pharaoh who dared to dream in stone, and in doing so, pretty much invented the idea of eternity.
You see, before this guy, there were no pyramids. Just try to picture it. Ancient Egypt, where even its god-kings were laid to rest in these pretty modest tombs made of mud brick. They were basically designed to be worn down by the desert and just swallowed by time.
But after him, whoa, everything changed. The entire concept of the afterlife, of royal power, even architecture itself, it was all turned on its head. He didn't just build a tomb, no. He built a direct path to the heavens, a monument that would echo through all of human history.
So to really appreciate just how massive this achievement was, we first have to understand the world he was born into. A world that looked nothing like the Egypt we imagine. A world without pyramids.
So let's meet our guy, Pharaoh Djoser. He also had another name, Netjerikhet. He took the throne around 2670 BCE. Now he wasn't the first pharaoh, not by a long shot. But he was the first one to completely change how people thought about death, divinity, and what it means to leave a legacy. So what did they have before Djoser? Well, they had something called a mastaba. It was basically a low, simple, rectangular tomb made out of mud brick. Think of it like a little earthly house for the afterlife. It was functional, sure, but it was basically designed to be forgotten. And for a pharaoh who believed he was a living god, well, that just wasn't going to cut it.
And that right there gets to the absolute heart of this story. Djoser didn't just want a tomb. He had this divine ambition. An ambition that was going to require a whole new kind of building. And this really shows you the incredible shift in thinking. On one hand, you've got the mastaba, simple, forgettable, literally made of earth. And on the other, you've got Djoser's vision, something towering, permanent, and divine. A monument that didn't just hold a body, but screamed his godhood to the world for all time. And it really all boiled down to this one powerful idea. It's a declaration. It's a challenge to reality itself. If he truly was a god on earth, then his final resting place couldn't be made of mud. It had to be something more. It had to be made of forever. But, you know, a vision like that is one thing. Actually making it real, that takes a special kind of genius. And for Djoser, that genius was a man named Imhotep. And Imhotep? Well, he wasn't just some architect. I mean, this guy was the whole package. He was the high priest, the king's top advisor, a famous doctor. He was so brilliant that centuries after he died, the Egyptians actually started worshiping him as a god of medicine and wisdom. So, Djoser goes to this genius with his impossible dream, and Imhotep comes up with an idea of just breathtaking simplicity. He basically thought, what if we don't build just one mastaba, but we build another on top of it, and then another, and another, each one a little smaller, stacking them all the way to the heavens. I know, it sounds almost obvious to us today, right? But you have to understand, back then, this was like a bolt of lightning, a moment of pure innovation. That simple thought, just stacking shapes, would not only define Egypt for the next 3,000 years, but would fundamentally change what all of humanity thought was possible to build. So how did they do it? How did this revolutionary idea actually take shape? Because this wasn't just about a new design. This was a revolution in materials. Djoser and Imhotep were about to build the world's very first colossal building made entirely out of stone. They started with what they knew. They built a single large mastaba, but this time out of stone. But they didn't stop there. They made it bigger. And then they started stacking. First to 4 tiers, creating a shape that nobody on Earth had ever seen before. But even that wasn't enough. They pushed higher, all the way up until it reached its final staggering height of about 60 meters. That's nearly 200 feet tall. At the time, it was the tallest building on the entire planet, a man-made mountain of limestone just rising out of the desert sands at Saqqara. And there it was, the Step Pyramid of Djoser. This wasn't just another tomb. It was the prototype. 6 tiers of solid stone, forming the very first pyramid, and the first massive stone building in all of human history. Period. But, you know, this incredible structure was more than just stone and engineering. It was a piece of spiritual technology. The Egyptians saw its shape as a literal stairway to heaven.
It was a machine designed for one single purpose: to let the soul of their divine pharaoh climb up from the earth and join the eternal stars in the sky.
But the impact of building this stairway wasn't just for the next life. It forged an eternal legacy right here on Earth.
I mean, just think about what it took to build this. It meant organizing an entire nation, quarrying unthinkable amounts of stone, and focusing the labor of thousands of people on one single goal. The pyramid became a national project, a powerful symbol that pulled everyone together under one shared belief. Their leader was a god, and this was the proof. It was a masterstroke of political power.
And Djoser's big idea, well, it didn't stop with him. It kicked off this incredible era of architectural one-upmanship. You can literally draw a straight line from Djoser's prototype to the later experiments like the bent pyramid, and finally, just a few generations later, to the absolute perfection of the smooth-sided Great Pyramid at Giza. So let's be absolutely clear about this. Without the step pyramid, there would be no Giza. Without Imhotep's genius, and without Djoser's crazy ambition, the most famous wonders of the ancient world might never have been built. He was the first. He was the one who dared to look at mud and sand and somehow see forever.
When you really think about it, Djoser didn't just build a tomb. He built a message that has outlasted his own empire by thousands of years. And it's a message that tells us that greatness isn't measured by how long your life is, but by the power and permanence of the legacy you decide to leave behind.